Stephen A., what's your reaction to the Washington football team's stories dealing with Haskins and also Snyder?
Well, first of all, I think they're moving in a forward direction, and I think they need to be given credit for that. You know what? You don't like to see that your owner was settling for anything, because regardless of what we want to deduce from it, ultimately it implies a level of guilt when you settle. That may not necessarily be the case. There's plenty of situations in our society where people settle because they don't want the noise, the PR, et cetera, and they're willing to pay a monetary price just to allow the problem to go away, even though they may have been innocent. We don't know what the situation is with Daniel Snyder other than the reports that he settled. So we don't know about his guilt or innocence, but because of his reputation in terms of people being down on this franchise because of its inept history and its inept ways, at least over the last 20 plus years, almost 30 years, the bottom line is he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt in a lot of situations, primarily because of that and because of the culture that he clearly oversaw. The things that were transpiring within the organization that ultimately led to dismissals and people being removed, and ultimately Julie Donaldson arriving there to head media relations. And forgive me, the brother's name escapes me that's there now, overseeing business operations that we had on this show, Mr.
Jason
Wright himself. The bottom line.
Jason Wright.
Jason Wright. Thank you, Max. That's right. Him and his reputation has been impeccable, and by all accounts, the two of them have been doing a phenomenal job and deserve credit and deserve our respect because of the direction that they have this franchise moving in. And Daniel Snyder deserves credit for bringing them on board. Having said that, it's not a good look, plain and simple. But there is those two. There is Ron Rivera. There is the fact that the team is competing and in position to win the division crown. They're clearly moving in a forward direction, and we have to give props where it's due in that regard. The only other thing that I would say is this. Dwayne Haskins, my brother, I have no idea what you were thinking about. I know that he wasn't at a strip club and instead of invited strippers to his home. It's COVID-19. You're in the middle of a playoff push, and that is what is on your mind. It's the height of irresponsibility. It was flat out stupid. I know he apologized, and I'm not going to pile on. But particularly you being at the quarterback position and being a black quarterback at that, knowing the challenges, people playing your position with your ethnicity, knowing the challenges that you share and what it represents. For you to be caught up in a situation like this, you should be ashamed of yourself.
You know, it just occurred to me as you said that, Stephen A., when you said a black quarterback, we are finally at the place where yeah, and black quarterback. There are black quarterbacks all over the league. You know, it's not like it used to be where that was like, oh, look at that, a black quarterback.
Right.
But let me just say, we largely see this the same way in terms of the Dan Snyder stuff. First of all, I don't give him credit for bringing on Jason Wright and Ron Rivera because he had to do it. He was dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century, arrogantly saying, I'm never going to change the name. And then what happened? He got rid of the racist name, didn't he? And then finally he had to get rid of his yes men and bring in actual football people, right? Jason Wright and Ron Rivera. Now, the question is, can they insulate this team from the pernicious effects of his incompetent ownership? Maybe. Maybe it's promising. We agree about that. I mean, Jason Wright seems to know what he's doing, and Ron Rivera does too, and they seem to be going in the right direction. Now, let me just address Dwayne Haskins for a second. He was young and made a stupid mistake. Not the end of the world kind of a mistake. He wasn't out partying. He brought the party to him. Who knows? Maybe he had people tested. I don't know. This is one of those things where you say, when I was 23, if every stupid thing I did, or the dumbest thing I did, or among the dumb things I did, was made public, I would be sitting there and people would be saying, boy, that's stupid. It's a kind of mistake I'm willing to write off to youth, but we'll see. And I have not given up on Dwayne Haskins, Stephen A. You know why? Because, first of all, this was not Jason Wright, Ron Rivera's guy, right? Like, Dan Snyder is the owner. You can't do anything about that. And the quarterback they inherited was not their guy. But I want to look at Haskins for a second. He was a one-year starter in college. And as that year went on, he got better and better, throwing the ball accurately and deep down the field, right? But it was still only a one-year starter. And while his mobility maybe is a little underrated, he's not a fast quarterback. Like Daniel Jones went ahead of him, partly because Daniel Jones is fast and Dwayne Haskins is not nearly as fast, not nearly as mobile. And so what we've seen in the modern game is especially the faster quarterbacks, they get to start earlier because they're dual threats. And you want them to win a Super Bowl in that rookie contract, right? So you get them experience year one, and certainly by year two they're starting. But a lot of times early in year one they're starting. That's not Dwayne Haskins. He's built more like an old school quarterback. He's more of a pocket passing type of quarterback and an inexperienced one, even on the college level at that, right? And so the question is at 23, having played at 22, 23, has there been improvement? Is there reason to believe that in the future he can be a successful quarterback? I'm not ready to say no yet. I think he is capable of throwing the ball accurately down the field. I have seen it. He has made certain improvements year one to year two for him. And even in light of this stupid mistake of youth, I wouldn't be so fast to say, let's get rid of this guy, right? Washington has invested a lot in him, and if the trajectory of his career is in fact more like those old school quarterbacks who he resembles in the style of his play, it might be year 3 or 4 before they get returns on their investment. And since they've already made that investment, maybe it makes sense to keep him around.
I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying get rid of him. Let's be clear. I'm just saying he should be ashamed of himself for finding himself in this position at this particular moment in time.
I'm sure he realizes
COVID-19 is going on. That's the height of irresponsible behavior from a team that's you're the quarterback, man. What the hell are you thinking? Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.